The biggest secret about control is that it doesn't announce itself. If people knew they were being controlled, it wouldn't work. So the world learned a better method. It taught people how to adjust. Evan grew up without abuse anyone could point to. No screaming parents, no violence, no obvious trauma that made it harder to explain why something always felt wrong. Whenever he spoke too honestly, the room changed. People lost patience. Conversations tightened. When he stayed neutral, agreeable, useful, life stayed smooth. His brain learned faster than he did. Silence kept relationships stable. Compliance kept doors open. Emotion created friction, so emotion was slowly removed. This is how dark psychology begins, not with pain, but with feedback. The mind notices what gets rewarded and what gets ignored, and it reshapes personality to survive. By adulthood, Evan had become exactly what modern society prefers: calm, rational, low maintenance. He never caused scenes, never pushed boundaries, never made anyone uncomfortable with feelings they didn't ask for. People trusted him. What they didn't realize was that trust came from predictability, not connection. Inside, Evan wasn't sad. Sadness would have been easier. Sadness invites attention. What replaced it was emptiness, clean, quiet, functional emptiness. His thoughts became efficient, his reactions controlled, his instincts muted. This wasn't depression, it was conditioning. He watched how the world worked. News cycles fed fear just enough to keep people tense. Social media rewarded outrage and punished nuance. Comparison turned insecurity into identity. People argued loudly about surface issues while deeper questions were never asked. A distracted mind doesn't rebel. The system didn't need dictators, it needed participation. At work, Evan was praised for being adaptable, for not taking things personally, for staying professional even when boundaries were crossed. Every time he swallowed discomfort, he was rewarded with approval. Promotions went to people who didn't resist. That taught him something dark. Pain is acceptable if it doesn't inconvenience others. In relationships, the pattern continued. When he expressed needs, tension followed. When he minimized himself, peace returned. So he learned to disappear carefully, to listen more than he spoke, to apologize preemptively, to call neglect understanding. This is where dark psychology becomes invisible. There was no manipulator standing over him, no villain pulling strings. The fear of being replaced, rejected, or labeled difficult did the work on its own. Eventually, Evans stopped trusting his inner voice. When something felt wrong, he assumed the flaw was his perception. Gaslighting no longer required another person. His mind did it automatically. That's the moment control becomes permanent. One night, alone in his apartment, Evan tested something. He didn't text first, didn't explain himself, didn't perform availability. Nothing happened. No concern, no absence noticed, no disruption. The realization didn't hurt, it clarified. If my presence doesn't change anything, he thought, then neither would my absence. That thought wasn't emotional, it was logical. And logic without emotion is dangerous. He didn't want to die. He just didn't feel necessary. Existence had become a role, not an identity. He moved through routines flawlessly, paid bills, met expectations, followed rules he never agreed to but never questioned. Society rewarded him for this. He was stable, reliable, mentally strong. No one noticed when his future stopped existing in his imagination. No one noticed when his opinions faded. No one noticed when his inner resistance went silent, because the world doesn't punish people like Evan. It depends on them. Dark psychology doesn't destroy humans. It refines them into something quieter, easier, obedient, and calls it success. And once the mind learns that being invisible causes the least pain, it never asks to be seen again.